everyone. If you don't already know me, my name is Kenzie, aka CryptidBaddie69 on Instagram. Big cryptids person here. Thought it would be fun to make some videos, just talk about various cryptids and, you know, their first sightings, where they originated, etc., etc. So I'm going to start today with one of my favorite cryptids, one that's been really on my mind a lot recently, because my boyfriend and I have been watching this docuseries called Hellier, and it is about the Kentucky Goblins. So the Kentucky Goblins, weird little dudes. I love them. I think they're super interesting, and I would like to share some information about them with you today. Hopkinsville, Kentucky, August 1955 is the first reported sighting of the Kentucky Goblins and where this craze kind of started. So 8 adults and 3 children all reported seeing these tiny little creatures after a reported UFO sighting. So these little creatures were described as about 3 feet tall, with super large eyes, really weird pointy ears, webbed hands and feet, the whole to-do, pale gray skin. One of the men who actually went out and tried to defend these people against these little goblins, Billy Ray Taylor, described these little goblins as having metallic-y skin, which is strange, but you know what? We'll take it. So we're at the home. There's this farmhouse. It is owned by Elmer and John Sutton. And there's a couple people staying there. We have Elmer and John. There is the matriarch of the house. I'll tell you what her name is in a moment. No, I will not, because I didn't write it down. Well, that's fine. Anyway, so we have Elmer and John Sutton, owners of this farmhouse, and then we have Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, and there are a couple other people who did not get interviewed, so we do not have their names, and some children who were all a part of this. So there's a UFO sighting that is witnessed, and they start seeing and hearing these little creatures trying to get into their house. They're popping up in the windows, terrorizing the children, clawing at the windows and the doors, trying to get into the house. So naturally, as I would assume you would be in rural Kentucky, well, and I feel like most people would do this first. You go out with your gun and you're like, well, what are these 3 feet little goblins gonna do? I'm just gonna shoot them. That's it. End of story. So for about 4 hours, we have Billy Ray Taylor and John Sutton outside shooting at these little goblins that are terrorizing their house. They never gave an official report of how many goblins there were, but I would assume there had to be a decent amount for them to be continuously terrorizing this household for hours on end. So they're out there shooting them. Nothing seems to really be working for them. You know, they've got shotguns, they're hitting these little things, nothing's happening, they're unfazed. These little goblins are just like, you thought you were gonna get us, but you can't. We're gonna keep fucking up your shit. So eventually, Billy Ray Taylor and John Sutton come back into the house, and they're like, you know what, we'll board up the walls, we'll board up the windows and the doors, and we're gonna just hang out inside. A couple hours go by, they don't really hear very much, and they're like, great, we're safe. We don't have to worry about this anymore. So Billy Ray Taylor goes to go outside to, you know, scope out the scene, see if any of these little goblins are still hanging around. He exits the door, and one of the other people in the house sees one little goblin hand come down and try to grab the top of his head. They yank him back in, and they go, great, so these little fuckers are still here. And that is when, about 4 hours later from the initial first sighting, they call the police to help them out about the situation they found themselves in. So they call the police. The police, the local the local town police, the state police, and the military police from Fort Campbell show up to investigate this crime scene, if you will, this weird situation that they found themselves in. And upon investigating, they find zero evidence of these little creatures. The only thing that they're finding while they're out and about searching for these things is the shotgun shells from the guns that they had shot at the goblins. So all of these people come in, they're finding nothing. These 11 people are like, well, we know what we saw. All of their statements lined up perfectly. They were like, yeah, we definitely saw these, so you guys are out of your mind. Cops leave, whatever. From about 2:30 in the morning until daybreak, the Sutton family and others in the house are experiencing continuous, like, terrorization and, you know, attacks and sounds and etc. from these little goblins that just, they were not given it a rest. They were like, you shot at us, you called the cops on us, we're gonna get you. And then daybreak comes and all activity ceases. And they're like, great, so I guess we've got nothing. So, it's worth noting too that while the police and the military police and all these people were investigating this crime scene, they also found no evidence of any sort of drugs or alcohol or anything that would kind of mess with what these people were seeing. It was reported that the matriarch of the house, like, she didn't mess with any of that. She would not allow alcohol in her house. She would not allow drugs in her house. She had a very clean, sober house, and that was it. Line drawn. So they found no evidence of anything that could have, you know, a hallucinogen or anything that could have made these creatures kind of show themselves to somebody who was, you know, impaired or anything. So, we're gonna go back a little bit to what I was talking about before, when I first started the docuseries that I have been watching, Hellier. So Hellier is incredible. I'll give it another shout out at the end so you guys don't forget to watch it. But in Hellier, they go searching once again for the Kentucky Goblins in a different part of Kentucky, quite actually on the opposite side of the state in Hellier, Kentucky. So this was in 2012, I believe. We have these two paranormal investigators, Greg and Dana Newkirk, who love them, wish they were my parents. If you see this, please adopt me. They get a weird email from this man who's like, hey, I've got all these goblins, please help me. You know, he reports that they're coming out of the mines, that they're terrorizing his family, very much in the same fashion as that first sighting in 1955. Tapping on the windows, trying to get into the building, just general nonsense, trying to scare this family and these children. The, like, interesting thing here is that they are, like, said to be coming out of these mines, which Kentucky does have a huge cave system, so it is not unusual for people in these parts of Kentucky to have mine shafts and abandoned mines in their backyard, on their property, somewhere close by their house. So I think that part's really interesting because, like, a cave dwelling goblin just seems like real spooky and I kind of love it. So they go to investigate, and essentially they're finding footprints. They find footprints in mud, footprints all over the place, you know, these weird little goblin-y, tiny, like, footprints with some weird toes. So I have my little notes here. I'm actually going to read the email that was sent to Greg and Dana Newkirk. That is what I guess we have for a reported sighting, like official report of it, because no police reports were ever made in this case. This was kind of really the only way this person reached out to be like, hey, I'm seeing this thing. So I'm going to read it to you guys, and we'll go from there. For the past 6 months, I have been living in a rural home located on the border of West Virginia and Kentucky, where my family is nightly assaulted by creatures that I have come to believe are of extraterrestrial origin. These beings appear to be the size and stature of a small child, devoid of any facial features, save for large, oily eyes and lipless mouths. They are frightening my children by peering through their bedroom windows, chirping at one another. That's weird. They actively attempt to enter my home in the middle of the night. Last month, they took my dog. Oh, that's sad. Police refused to provide any further assistance, attributing the problems to wild animals and forwarding my complaints to the State Game Commission. I believe they are coming from an abandoned mine located on the edge of my property. Though I am armed, I'm afraid I'm far too frightened to enter the mine by my lonesome and cannot convince any sympathetic friends to accompany me, though I cannot blame them. I am convinced that the only answer is to collapse the mine. So that is the reported sighting that we have for the most recent sighting of the Kentucky Goblins. The Kentucky Goblins are so weird. I have this hand-drawn photo. I'm just gonna make sure you guys can see this. This beautiful artist rendition of a Kentucky Goblin, drawn by one of my favorite humans in the world, Miss Sarah Brown. This is essentially what people are reported seeing when they're talking about these little goblins. Personally, I really like them, but I kind of think they're probably aliens. Like, I love them, but I love the idea of like a goblin alien, like coming out of the mine, being like, coming for you, I'm gonna tap on your windows and chirp at you. I think they're so silly. So we've got these two big reported sightings, and that's kind of it. I do think it's really interesting because they are about 60 years apart from each other and on completely other sides, like opposite sides of the state. But, you know, as it is with most things, there are, you know, people report sightings and then sometimes they don't report sightings. So who's really to say what's going on in the middle there? We don't really know. Probably more goblins popping up everywhere, if I had to guess. So I guess this will be the end of my first video. I am going to make another one soon. Just gonna give another quick recap of that show Hellier. It is amazing. I definitely suggest everybody watch it. My boyfriend and I have been watching it on Prime Video. It is so good. It's one of those shows that you just like get sucked into and then you just can't stop watching it. It's amazing, and it is starts off all about the Kentucky Goblins. So if you want more information on them, that is definitely a good place to go. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling for a few minutes about the Kentucky Goblins. Hopefully you'll stick around and watch my next video. That's all. Bye.